Hello, welcome to the Redmen TV. It's Matchday live and uncensored, and as always, a couple of minutes behind. For those of you wanting to know why, in the comment section, you'll never know. I'm joined by Mike Kennedy, Jack Hart, and over in Tactics Corner, Chris, give us a smile, Mr. Chris Pajak. Before we obviously get stuck into the housewives, what's and all that other things, Chris just got Liverpool starting 11, which was leaked again with an hour to go, like every week. Apologies to the lad who didn't comment that. Every week, that's just when the teams get released, mate. Chris, do you want to talk us through it, please?
Of course, yeah. The Mole has come out 1 hour before kick-off and told us that Simon Mignolet is going to go in goal. Chance, Skrtel and Sacco at the back. Markovic probably play right wing-back. Henderson, Lucas in the centre. Moreno left wing-back. Sterling, Coutinho and Barini keeps his place up top.
That is the big surprise for me, Mike Barini. Easily, as we discussed off camera, the most deluded footballer at Liverpool Football Club. Fair play to him. I thought he did enough in the last game to actually warrant a place in and around the team. Good on him.
I mean, I've got mixed feelings about Barini because you can see that he's trying really hard on the pitch. I love his attitude. I like the way he gets across the pitch as well. I'd like to see him going through, a bit more vertical, but I like the way he gets around the pitch. He gives us an option, gives us somebody to hit further up the field. I really, really like his attitude, and I like his confidence that he's got in himself. Yeah.
Which is borderline delusional.
Yeah, any strength taken to an extreme becomes a weakness, doesn't it? And I think if anybody who was fortunate enough to read the Barini interview with James Pearce in the Echo a couple of days ago, and you should read it if you haven't already read it. Will tell you that the lad's living on a different planet. He thinks he's doing all right.
He genuinely thinks this has been a good return.
He actually said, "I've played more games than I thought. Actually, I'm really happy with how things are going."
They haven't sold me yet or anything. They've tried, Fabio. They've tried, and you won't let them.
You won't go. Just like Rodgers is trying to freeze him out, but he thinks everything's great. So
I love that.
Yeah,
I genuinely love that. Jack, look. What's your take on the side? Any big surprises, even with the inclusion of Barini or?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Lallana's obviously only returning, isn't he? So he would have been the one, presumably, who might have taken Barini's place had he been ready. As for, we're discussing Barini's attitude, and certainly on the pitch, I tend to be pleased with him when I see him play. I just want to see a bit more of. He's got that certain fiery quality about him. I just want to see him kind of deliver a bit more on that. Yeah. He obviously channeled it the wrong way against Arsenal, but last week he looked good and he laid off that chance that Gerrard had, I think, shortly before half time. So it's encouraging, and the setup generally has worked for us recently, so I'm happy to see it.
He took one for the team in the Markovic goal, didn't he, last week? Barini. I think that's sort of like so. Chris has got his hand on. I just want to know, Chris. Obviously, we're seeing Barini start up top, but I think for me that the big point behind around that is that Raheem Sterling's going to get to play in more of his natural position.
Well, that's it. That's important, isn't it? Because Sterling's sort of been the driving force for this team from when he has played in that sort of 10 position. Now, he's looked much better when he's been playing in that position. He has run his arse off all day when he's been playing up front. But the fact is, he affects games more from where he's going to be playing today, and that's important. And I think that's obviously why Barini's kept his place. As the lad said before, I think if Lallana was fit, Sterling would probably continue up top. But I think Sterling could be a big player for us today, and he could be the difference maker. I just want to go over to the comments on the YouTubes quickly as well. I've not got it up because I've got the subs to go through, but Horn Pilot can't wait to see some excellent runs and a total lack of finish from Barini today.
I reckon I don't reckon necessarily he'll do it, but it could surprise one or two people.
But I think that's the only difference with him. It's just the goals. I think if he just had some goals, not loads, if he just had some goals, I think that people's perception of him would be just revolutionised. Yeah. But the fact that he just never actually scores undermines all the other good work that he does.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we've said this already. The strength that Barini has over his rivals for that position at the moment is simply that his level of work rate and to be fair, even his pace. Although he's not the fastest player on the earth, he's a nuisance to get about. He sort of suits that role certainly better than Balotelli, definitely better than Lambert. So I've got no problem with him there in the short term.
Well, he can get he'll make all the other players play better, won't he?
Yeah.
That's what Sterling did against Swansea. I was quite frustrated with Sterling in that game in terms of how he looked playing as a striker.
Yeah.
But he certainly gave everybody else the opportunity to play the way they wanted to. If you ask me today, we've got a striker in the striking position and Sterling in a better position. So
Well, this already looks like you could swap, if you swap Barini out for Daniel Sturridge, that's a really good team for me. And if you've got Lallana to come in reserve. On that then, Chris, I think you've got the substitutes there. I think, I know, I'm literally looking at the screen. Lallana has to be the shocking conclusion. It would have been Jordan Ibe this week, would have been the shocking conclusion. But Lallana, who was supposed to be out for at least another couple of weeks, great to see him back on the bench.
That's it. Yeah, so we've got Ward, backup goalkeeper, Manquillo, Enrique, Lambert, Lallana, Ibe and Williams. Lots up top, a little bit at the back. Not really much in the midfield there, is there?
Full-back-tastic.
Yeah, there's no centre-back. Obviously, Lovren's missing. Balotelli's ill, apparently, so that's why he's not made the bench. Lallana maybe could have been forced onto the sub-bench because of Balotelli's illness.
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, the Balotelli one, that answers that. That should sort of hopefully put to bed any of the speculation around that, Mike. But that's really boring, so let's speculate anyway. I mean, Balotelli, he doesn't seem to have any luck in any way, shape or form. He's not even staying fit enough to try and fight his way back into the team.
No, I mean, one day we'll find out why, we'll find out the rationale behind bringing him in, but I think it was just a case of, it was the last chicken in the shop at the end of the transfer window, and it was like 16 million. Yeah, that's all right. Let's get him in. But
was it like Jingle All the Way when he's looking for the toy? Is that what it was? You think it's that kind of like that last minute?
Although that is an iconic part of like cinematography, and I'm not familiar with that particular scene.
Okay,
also.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's Search for Turbo Man, but you're right. A desperate last minute rush to try and pick someone up.
Yeah, I just think he just doesn't fit our style. We went through this whole period, didn't we, when we came in? I remember being on the show before, and we were like, "Wow, like what is he? This isn't what I thought we were buying." And I think we all went through this period where we had to reposition him in our mind, really, because we had this more explosive striker in our mind, which is great when you watch Match of the Day or you see highlights, but when you're looking at someone 90 minutes week in, week out, it's a very different thing. Yeah. I think everybody's made the peace now with the fact that he isn't that, elite striker that we thought he was. I think, the issue that he's got is the baggage that he brings, and the mentality and the perception and the circus that surrounds him. I'd like to just see him contribute well in the matches. I don't expect him to score Suarez levels of goals. Yeah. But if he could just weigh in, with 10 goals over the course of a season, great.
I'd be happy with like Bellamy level goals. To be perfectly honest,
I'd settle for that, mate. He'd be a productive member of the squad, give us another option, a physical presence, and I think as long as people having him in the mind as more of a kind of third choice striker.
That's the problem, but that's the problem with it. He's
That's the problem when we've not got a first or second.
Well, exactly. Yeah, we've got a team. Yeah. We've got so many third choice options.
Well, Sturridge comes back and he's number one. Yeah. Hopefully, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, but I wanted us to sign a second choice striker in this window. I think Balotelli comes in there at third, and then maybe Barini's hanging around as fourth place. But.
No mention of Ricky Lambert, unlucky.
No.
Everyone keeps doing this poor old Ricky.
He's about eighth or ninth place choice.
Yeah. Go on, Kiss, have you got something for us?
Yeah, we've got something. I think the lad who's talking about the leaks has actually replied to us on Twitter. It's at JWL1092. He's put a link to the leak from 2 days ago. Followed it through at Damien LFCPL. Put the exact team out on the 15th of January at 12:52 and has put there based on today's training session.
Well, that's what's known as the bib, basically. Yeah.
So we don't mind admitting when we're wrong.
And we will one day when that happens. We definitely will. Yeah, It's but just going back to the bench, Chris. Adam Lallana, for me, great to have him back in there because it takes the pressure off Steven Gerrard as well to a certain extent. Because there was touch and go whether he'd actually be fit. All the talk was he'd be back and available for this game in some form or another. If Lallana's back in there, that does definitely ease the pressure.
It does, yeah. It definitely gives us more. I think. I don't know how to say it properly. It definitely gives us more options going forward because I think Lallana's slightly better than Gerrard in that sort of position behind the front two. The one thing is that Gerrard he can fill in if you need to in that sort of centre mid position, whereas if we picked up an injury to a Henderson or a Lucas, I actually think that would quite badly hurt the side at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a major rejig if that happens. I mean, this was Emre Can's there, but then he was the lack of centre halves, who's coming in there. I think the most encouraging thing, Jack, is that with Lallana, is that like a month out, he was just starting to find his feet. He was starting to find a consistent level of form. I think a month out, you're then looking at a couple of weeks to get him back up to speed again. If he's back and he's fit now, hopefully he can just pick up where he left off, basically.
Well, I think that bit of form he'd hit has done wonders for him, really. I mean, we've seen over his entire time at Liverpool, really, Joe Allen struggled with that, never quite nailed down that place in the side and the positive reputation amongst everybody. And then he's been injured and absent, and he's kind of the forgotten man. I think for Lallana, hitting that bit of form, it means that he can come back and people can expect, much like when we signed him, we all thought he would fit in, slot in and perform. Yeah. And I think that little bit of confidence that run he had will have given him, and the supporters have got that confidence as well, so I think we can expect him to come back in and look good.
I think it's it. Well, we've said already, Sturridge could potentially cover a multitude of sins there, Mike. You can see just from the potential line of that team, the way we've gone for it, is the two behind the striker. You're kind of only really looking for, you need some rotation within there. So at the minute, having Coutinho, Sterling and Lallana, and then even Gerrard to throw into that, that's a really positive thing if you overlook how light we are in Sturridge's position.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've done, I think what Rodgers has done is quite wise. He's cut his cloth accordingly. He's looked at the squad and realised where it's weak and realised where it's strong, and then put a formation in place where he can leverage the strength that he has got in the team. And what we've got is an overabundance of attacking midfielders at the moment. Yeah. So you can kind of plonk them all in there at the top end of the field and just say, go on, let's do something, boss, make something happen.
Too many attacking midfields. And people said we'd done a Spurs.
And what we've seen, I think, not that we didn't have quite enough as we needed, so that's why we brought I back in, which I'm made up about, by the way. I think
we'll actually come on to that. I want to come on to that in a moment. I asked before we went live for people to give some suggestions for content, so let's just go through on some of the tweets. At Redmen, it's my boy Arjun's birthday today. Big LFC fan, a birthday wish would be welcome. Happy birthday, Arjun. Good on you. Let us know how old he is. We could have been more bespoke on that one, I feel. That nerd Lewis, we'll talk about the terrible transfer committee and what needs to be done about it. We'll come on to that hopefully. At Thapley, how does Ibe get game time? Should Ibe be preferred over Barini, especially in your league and Europa? And someone wants to know, Danny Cox 94, hello Danny, wants to talk about Suso leaving. So we'll start with Ibe. I mean, surprise. Chris and I were on the train back from London in the week, and he said to me, "Have you heard that Ibe's come back?" And I'm not massively shocked, but I don't know. I think most people were kind of like, "Oh, good, because he's a good player. We kind of want to be involved," but it's a little bit underwhelming considering what we feel we need in the transfer window.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted us to sign Karim Benzema this
transfer
window. That's what I had in mind. So obviously Jordan Ibe's a little bit of an anticlimax after that, but he's a player who I absolutely love. I've loved him for years. I think he's got a huge future.
But we talked 2 seasons ago, the people who were in the know were saying he was better than Raheem Sterling, and he had a far better potential than Sterling.
It's natural to compare the two, isn't it? Because they for years they had the sort of similar frame. They're exactly a year apart. Exactly a year apart. But yeah, I mean, I think that Ibe has always been, or at least historically, when they were in the youth team, he was always a bit more direct. I felt like Sterling was more of a tricky dribbler, and Ibe was a little bit more direct. And now we've seen how much Sterling has come on from the player that he was just a year ago. Yeah. If Ibe could make a similar jump, Jesus, what a player he could be.
Absolutely. Well, look at already. I think he's made 15 starts and 12 sub appearances for Derby this season, which is great. Proper first team experience. 5 goals and an assist, and it's not sensational, but it's better than the vast majority of the players in our team, albeit a league below.
I think it's excellent, mate. I think that's a really, really good return for a lad of his age. going and playing regular first team footy.
He's only just arrived there as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really excellent.
We'll ask the people watching as well. I mean, let us know your thoughts on Jordan Ibe and bringing him back in. Is it a good move? I mean, in first instance, put to one side that we think Liverpool should be buying a striker and Liverpool should be buying in January. The fact that he's coming back, let us know your thoughts on that, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Chris, what have you got for us?
Yeah, we've got some thoughts coming in already. Just an average potato, meh. Zuma V buzzing.
If he wasn't an average potato, though, do you reckon his response would have been a little bit more exciting? That's the question.
Maybe, you'll never know.
We'll never know.
Well, we might do, but we'll never find out because I'll never read it out loud. Next, stupid Callum. Derby fans probably more shocked than us. And Ace, if he gets time, excellent. If he doesn't, it's stupid.
That is the sensational point, and that was exactly what I was going to come on to.
But he will get time. He will get time. Rodgers is on record as saying that I'm only going to bring him back if we know that he can contribute.
But we saw this 2 years ago with John Joe Shelvey when we brought him back from Blackpool. He was having a fantastic time there, starting to really find his feet, getting good goal return. Look, one of the best players in the Championship, a la Ibe's done this year as well. We cut it short, and he was never the same player for Liverpool. Is there a concern? Jack, I'll come with you first. Is that a concern that we've now put pressure on to make sure that he has to make sure he gets that game time to continue his development?
Rodgers and anybody else involved in the decision will have had that situation with Shelvey in mind, I'm sure. But and with that in mind, it's a real bold decision to have brought him back because, as you said, he was playing at Derby. You know, I was having an impact there. He was playing well. Derby were doing well.
Yeah.
And so he's either pulled him back to Liverpool because he thinks he can go...
Do you reckon Steve McLaren's taught him any Dutch? Yeah.
He's come back presumably because he's going to be in the 18 more often than not. That has to be the case because otherwise it seems ridiculous to have brought him back. So whichever way it goes for Ibe, Rodgers has really sort of made a statement there. He's either going to look stupid or it's going to look fantastic.
Yeah. Chris, where do you think he's going to fit in? Where would you play him?
I don't know. So one of the comments here is Prince of Chaos Sevens put, can I play wing back now? Naturally, I think he will be able to. I think if we've converted Markovic just that he can play wing back, then I don't see any reason why I can't.
He's saying Emery Chan, Ibe play wing back. There's no question there. There's no question about that. I'm only messing. There you go.
Okay.
Recover that train of thought.
Yeah, no, but I do think that Ibe could fit in there. I think we spoke to John Aldridge last week, didn't we? And he said that Ibe's a much better. Yeah, thanks for that. He said that Ibe's a much better finisher than Sterling, which is something that sort of. Mike alluded to before, but I think with Lallana and Sturridge coming back in, and if they're both going to be playing regular games, the worry for me, much like everybody else, is Jordan Ibe going to get enough game time? I think with probably Manquillo and Markovic vying for that right-hand wing back, then I don't see much there, and we don't seem to play the formation that would suit him at the moment. For me, he's much more of a wide player than he is a little sort of centre player like Sterling or Lallana, so right. I do worry about it, but I think if he can be converted to wing back, then he could get a bit of game time. But
you know what though, Chris, if you like, we went back, you know, a year or so ago, or maybe a little bit more, I don't think we would have thought that Sterling could play centrally. I think people perceived him as an Ibe type winger on the outside, flying.
Absolutely.
I think if Rodgers can, you know, if he does think that he can bring him inside, I think he, honestly, I really rate Ibe very highly. I think he could be a fantastic player.
If he's a backup, if with the general consensus is he's a better finisher than Sterling,
yeah,
could he be a backup for Sturridge?
I think it's confirmation that there's no striker coming in the window.
Yeah,
and that's, you know, I think, you know, the behind the scenes they know nothing's going to change up top. So, you know, we're going to stick with the focus that we've got, where actually our main threat actually comes from just behind the front man. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if Sturridge comes in, that'll change. I think in that area behind somebody who's like the spearhead of the attack, that's where it's going to happen for us this year. So I think Ibe coming back in just gives us another option, I think, you know. So I'm made up he's coming back. I think it's great. Well,
I think that's it. I think, again, putting aside the transfer-related furore that kicked off upon hearing about his return, Jack, that if he's good enough, if the club think he's good enough to have an impact, then fine, get him back in. I'd rather him be on form for Liverpool than on form for that. That's the point of having these players in the first place.
And the fact that decision's been made means that they do think he's good enough, because he must be coming back in to play. There's no other reason, is there? Unless there's something going on at Derby, which there's clearly not.
Yeah.
I think we've got Sturridge due back as well, hopefully soon. And
How many times we said that?
We wait and see what happens to the team when he returns and the shape of the team even, because we're trying to envisage where I can fit into this shape we've been playing for the last 6-7 weeks. But with Sturridge back, we might see things change also, considering the fact that Lucas has come in and done a good job.
Yeah.
It might be that we can now go back to a back four and have a bank of three behind Sturridge.
I suppose that's a good point. You know, we've done this a lot, haven't we? Under Brendan Rodgers, we kind of we get on our minds. This is how we're going to play. This is the system we're going to use, and then it changes. And we go, oh, okay. So, and then we get stuck in that one, and then it changes again. So there is nothing to say. I think Jack's got a good point there. Yeah. There's nothing to say that this is how we're going to play this style, this formation. What will be like in May.
No, I actually don't think Rodgers gets enough credit for his flexibility, and also you know, he's not afraid to try things. I like that. I like to see that in a manager. You know, I think too many managers in the past, they kind of get stuck playing in a certain way. I think the more modern, progressive managers,
David Moyes,
they're not, well, it's perfect. You know, they're not afraid to try new things. I mean, the thing I like about the most recent formation change is that, you know, for me, I don't think we've had any really top quality fullbacks for years, years and years and years. You know, really top quality fullbacks. So I quite like the way in the new formation. It's like, well, we don't need them. You know, it's like we can go with wing backs, which actually, you know, that actually suits obviously like the likes of Moreno. I would never have saw Markovic playing back there in a million years. But if Markovic can play there, then I think I maybe could too.
Yeah, it's an very interesting shout. Chris, have you got some stuff for us there at all? Or are we just gonna say a few words to give you a moment?
Oh yeah, of course. We've got James Benyon here. Ard coming back tells me Regi's staying put. Why pay 5 million for to recall one loan when we can call back another forward for free? Hence Ard coming back.
It's a decent point. I mean, one of them is more proven in England than the other, although, you know, being proven in the Championship, as we've seen so many players being capable of making that step up. But it's a good point. I'm still disappointed. We've not. I'm not saying we haven't yet. But if we're not going to bring another forward, then it would be disappointing. Have you got anything over on the Twitter or anything?
Yeah, just a few photos from where people are going to be watching the match and stuff. Bertie McLaughlin sneakily watching the match in work. I noticed there, Bertie, that you're not watching the live stream, so I'm not talking to you right now. And Robert Swanson, him and his kid are watching. Well, I assume Robert's in control. Maybe his kid showing him how to use his iPad, taking a selfie there. Don't know. Hello, Robert. Hope you're enjoying the live stream anyway. And James Ward, Riyadh, wasn't long ago people were saying send Sterling out on loan. Think we've got to trust Rodgers' judgment.
Yeah, it's a very good shout. Actually, quite interesting what I want from people, if you could please. Obviously, we know this isn't televised the game's not being televised in England at the moment, so it's on stream. So if you've got any stream links, send them in via at the Redmen TV. We'll stick a few. I don't think you can post them in the comments on YouTube, but by all means, if you're on YouTube and you want to find out where the game's being shown, head over to our Twitter again at the Redmen TV. And again, keep your thoughts coming in on anything. We're gonna talk about Suso in a minute. So get your thoughts in on Suso's completed transfer to AC Milan. We touched on it already there, Mike. It does look like Liverpool are going to sign anyone in this window. Yeah. How are you with that?
I'm gutted, mate. Yeah. I'm absolutely gutted. I mean, I think it's just, you know, I was waiting actually in the build up to January. I was waiting to hear Rodgers say the sentence, "I don't think we'll do too much in this window." I was waiting for it, and I was watching the press conferences, and sure enough,
lo and behold,
yeah, you know, round about sort of second week of December, I think it was, he came out and said it and just started managing everybody's expectations. And yeah, you know, I'm
good fucking luck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, you know, there was a fantastic piece by Paul Tompkins this week. I don't know if you read it on the basically just saying how far out kilter people's expectations are from a financial point of view with Liverpool versus, you know, the Man Cities, the Chelseas, United and Arsenal. And I thought that was quite a good. I think the title of the article was "In Defence of FSG's Transfer Policy." Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's like flame bait. You know, you see that.
FSG apologists.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he did a really good job of kind of talking me off the ledge. So I am disappointed. You know, I think that we just have a perception in our minds that Liverpool are one of the world elite football clubs, But
in terms of prestige and history,
yes,
absolutely.
But from a financial point of view, it's completely untrue. You know, we just don't have that kind of money. We don't, you know, and that's just the reality of where we're at the moment. Even so, new players, it's the lifeblood of what fans want, isn't it? It keeps it shakes the squad up. You know, players, loads of players I've heard say over the years that they like seeing new blood come into the squad. It gives everybody a lift. So yeah, I mean, I think if we end up getting Ibe and Origi in, then great. They're two players who I think have both got, you know, promising futures in the game.
Does the same
but
job.
They're not superstars.
But it does the same job of that fresh blood
Yes.
for a lot less money than going out and buying someone who may or may not fit with you long term. I think, Jack, we've seen, haven't we? And again, I can understand people go like the you know, Fenway apologists and all this kind of stuff, like, but just, you know, for the sake of, let's all go and hang ourselves now, which is not an option, you know. I mean, and if it is, please don't. Just carry on watching, listen to this, see if you can get yourself cheered up. You know,
think of the children.
But it's you know, we've seen putting people's feelings on FSG to one side. What they don't want is dead assets and over bloated contracts on for players who aren't worth it, and that's a potential problem. You know, they've proven themselves. They've turned the corner because obviously they signed Andy Carroll, who was the biggest, most bloated contract.
Elephants of all time.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And they arrived and we had Joe Cole on the books.
This is exactly it. Like, I suspect they don't want to go out. They'd rather not go out and spend money on someone who you get to the summer and think, oh, is he going to be here next season? Is he going to be an integral part of the team in years to come?
There's an interesting question of almost identity as well, because we've seen, you know, 10, 12 years ago, Chelsea get this new influx of cash. City more recently, clubs like Paris Saint-Germain, Monaco. And for all that it's exciting getting in the biggest names and signing 3 or 4 world-class players every summer, I don't know, I mean, I'd be interested to know what percentage of supporters want to go down that route, because, I mean, we saw ourselves challenged really hard last season and not having had to do it that way, kind of kept ourselves in check and did it sort of with a lot of pride in what we were doing. And I think we've spoken this season and we think we've had the bulk of our dealings this year have been really good. They've not, you know, we've not signed Nasri, Aguero and Silva in the summer.
There's no stinkers there, is there?
But we've signed players that we think
I'm sure Dejan Lovren's sitting at home watching this going, oh, good on you, Mike.
We won't digress. I actually think he's going to come good.
We have to have faith that the players we've signed, and the indicators are there, that they'll come good in the next few years, and that by making those investments...
Listen, I got Footy Manager handheld, the new one, on my Kindle this week, and the top one of the kids, Origi, Sterling, Markovic, Ibe, all in there. The future's bright. In terms of football manager, absolute conclusive proof that everything's going to go fine. But Chris, I just interrupt you from you scrolling. Make sure it's safe before we come. Excellent. I mean, how disappointed are you? We're saying it doesn't look as though Liverpool's in. We're not saying that's 100% definite. How are you feeling if as it looks, we're not going to sign anyone else?
Naturally, I'm disappointed because I think there are huge holes in the squad, mainly up front and goalkeeper, where I think we do need reinforcements massively. But you've got to remember back to last season, and we said exactly the same last season. You know, if we wanted to challenge for the title, we needed to bring in signings, and Rodgers got the best out of the players that he'd had with him for 6 months previous to it. So much like we were talking about before we went live about how Liverpool do play better under Rodgers under the second half of the season, I think we've got to just trust and hope that these players are going to get what it is that Rodgers is preaching to them, and we're going to see an improvement, and hopefully we do make a charge on top 4.
Yeah, great. You got some comments there for us?
Hashtag justice for Colo, the Speedy Assassins. Someone was asking it in the comments basically why we're not signing Falcao and Di Maria, and I think it's pretty obvious. We just haven't got the money to be making those signings right now. But I think Milan Juvic has said because we make top players not buy them, and Man United, what does that say? Will White oldness of squad next year? Yeah, but maybe or maybe not. I'm not sure. I read the first point of the comments. I'm like, yeah, he seems to be answering this question. And then he's clearly had a speckle brain. Forgotten how to type. Maybe not the best comments I've ever read out there.
maybe he set you up for that, Chris. Maybe he thought that.
Yeah, we are for each
Make
these
the first sentence very articulate. And
worrying precedent set that literally could have said anything in that second half of that comment. Yeah. And Chris's mummy titties, like, you know, it's like you just don't know, do you? I think that's it. I think that's my feelings on it anyway, and they'll change probably as the season progresses if we don't actually put on at least a good fight for top four or whatever. I'm bought into the idea of what we're trying to achieve by saying we cannot financially compete with Chelsea, Man City, and even Man United. Yeah. And I know that the instant argument to that is, well, we need owners who can, and I think that's another point. But I like the idea that we're trying to do it organically. We're trying to train people. We're going out and poaching the best young talent. The problem is that we do actually need to buy some fucking players who don't need to be trained up. It'd be lovely to go out and buy someone like a Di Maria or whatever. I don't mean, as you said there, I don't mean let's go and buy 3 or 4 of them. Just one would be nice.
Yeah, I think the thing is that the solution isn't a change of ownership, because even if we did change owners now, the Man City model can't be done now. Financial fair play is in place now. Yeah. So that drawbridge has been pulled up. Yeah. You know, so I'm not surprised that Abramovich is fully supportive of FFP. Yeah, it's good for the game. Nice one, mate. Now you're sorted. You're stopping anybody else from entering the club. You know, so an ownership change I don't think is the solution, because even if you had the richest owners in the world, they can't plough their own cash into the club. It needs to be sustainable. Yeah. What FSG are doing, I think, is really smart, is that they're making longer term investments in players. I think the frustration that we've all got is it would be nice to just have a couple of proven players that don't necessarily fit the model. Not every player has to fit this model. Yeah. And I think that's where the frustrations come in. If we could just have a couple of proven players, I don't know how you measure that. One every season. Maybe not at all unless the deal really stacks up really well. I don't know, but some more flexibility is needed, definitely, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's just, the problem is until they do start doing that, it's dead easy to look at the negative side of things. It's dead easy to look at Liverpool as a club and say, and everyone feels this way. Great, Markovic is looking really good. Great, he's going to go on to be a worldie. Great, Coutinho going to be on worldie. Sterling's going to be a worldie. Yeah. So by the time they get to world class status, we're only going to fucking sell them to Real Madrid or Barca or Bayern or whatever. Anyway, and then we start again, and we never actually get to enjoy these players at their peak and beyond.
But in fairness, Paul,
it just would have been interesting to see if Suarez hadn't fucking bitten someone else. Would we have kept him? Would he have gone against that game? Would we have kept him? That's the big question mark hanging over my head.
Two things, mate. Firstly, 99.9% of the professional football clubs in the world don't have the luxury of having all the best players at the peak. It's not how it works. You've got realistically, what are we talking about? Real Madrid, Barca, maybe Bayern Munich now. I think they're the elite clubs, aren't they? I don't think okay, Man City pay the big money, but in terms of prestige, for me, they're the three that kind of, can just take everybody else's best players. I think,
probably not even Bayern if you think about it.
Yeah, maybe
they can take Dortmund's best players.
Yeah, regularly.
And will, and shall continue to.
But I think, as far as if Suarez had stayed, that would have been really interesting. That would have been interesting because, mainly just to cement our Champions League position,
Yeah, I think look, this will rumble on. We'll do more in-depth and detailed discussion on this kind of thing on the subscriber shows this week. Obviously, go on the redmentv.com. Free for the month, and we'll continue this. Mike and I have got a very interesting video coming up Monday as well, talking about Liverpool's battle for top four and whether it's statistically even possible for Liverpool to break into Champions League, which is both depressing and freeing, but also with a shade of optimism. Mainly from me, so definitely tune in for that. We've got a few minutes till kick off. I just want to quickly talk about Suso. Chris, he's signed a permanent deal with AC Milan. Are you sad to see him go?
Not really, no. I think there's better players in the squad. I would never bought into the fact that I thought Suso was going to be a world class player. I don't think he would ever. I'm not saying he can't do it at the top of the game. I just don't think he can do it in the top of the Premier League. I think there's a bit of a difference. I think, you know, Spain or Italy probably suits him a little bit better. I just don't think he was quite strong enough for us and quick enough now. There's been a few rumours about Suso over the last sort of couple of months, is that he's one of those players in training who doesn't really try that hard, and that's probably why he's never really forced his way into Brendan Rodgers' plans. So yeah, to sum up there, no, I'm not really that unhappy about Suso going.
Yeah, I think the thing is, we've seen Suso, he's got a terrific fan base. There was a point when he had more Twitter followers than Everton Football Club, which was the most hilarious thing ever. He's got talent, and when he's been given his opportunities, we go back to pre-season, he scored a couple of good goals, where, you know, he got the chance in the League Cup and took his opportunity as well. It's a shame, isn't it? I think I mean, Jack, we wanted to see Suso succeed at Liverpool.
Particularly in this new shape that we've had as well. I think he'd have fit in perfectly, really, when we've been without Lallana, or Coutinho's needed a rest, or Sterling's not been involved. He looked like a player who could come in and do that role. But I think he would have been ideal for that, and that must speak to you about maybe these training ground rumours are true, and that was the reason he wasn't given the chance.
Yeah.
It's a shame he wasn't given that opportunity and we didn't get to see him in that role, but then it doesn't feel as though we've lost out on anything that we've had because he's not been involved anyway. So I can't be too disappointed about it either, really.
I saw in the comments there someone was asking how much my runners are. I presume they mean me trainers and not the lads operating cameras.
Yeah.
A fair bit. Like, thanks for noticing.
How much? I said 65 to them.
Big time Charlie me with me Adidas trainings. Like, until that inevitable Adidas Originals deal comes in, unfortunately I have to buy them myself and skip out on the expensive beans for another month. I'm interested to see. It looks like there was meant to be a planned protest for fans not taking the seats for the first 8 minutes. Looking at the Villa Park, I don't know if that's the whole end or not, but it doesn't look like it's been a massive success. No. Shame, it would have been a nice idea. Looks like the match is going to be kicking off momentarily. Some score predictions before we go then, Jack?
2-0 away win.
Okay, Mike?
I think we're going to hammer them. I think we're going to absolutely hammer them. Villa won 3 out of the first 4 games, and then in the 18 games since then, they've only won twice. So they're actually, by a mile, the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
The bottom of the form table. They've got the worst attack in the league. But at home, they've had some okay results. They drew with United, they drew with Southampton at home, and they're unbeaten in the last 5 at home. So they're a terrible team. They don't score any goals, but they can dog it out at home.
Yeah.
So,
and they've got Christian Benteke, although he's been rubbish, he has a habit of being amazing against us. Chris?
2 motherfucking 1 to the Liverpool!
Don't ever talk like that again. Fucking hell. You know, we put you over in that corner and we come over to you occasionally. That ends. That's ended now. Right, we're going to go to the match. Join us back here at half-time for half-time live. We're putting the links out beyond the YouTube channel and, of course, via at the Redmen TV as well. Enjoy the game, Reds, and we'll see you back here in 45 minutes.